My cousin has a great figure, especially with perfect curves, so even when walking normally, she attracts men's attention, but she was very happy about it, saying it could attract her crush, but at the same time, she complained to me that her chest would occasionally hurt, worried about her safety. I explained to her that having large breasts can easily lead to sagging and a high probability of cancer. So I advised her to go to the hospital for a checkup. She followed my advice, and later the hospital performed a reduction surgery on her. Afterwards, her crush and a girl with large breasts made a high-profile public announcement. She went crazy, ran to my house, and loudly cursed me, saying, "It's all because of you, you bitch, that my breasts got smaller, otherwise, he would have been with me." Then, with a ferocious expression, she picked up a pillow and smothered me to death. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day my cousin complained about chest pain. I quickly shook my head, taking deep breaths in and out, the suffocating feeling from the moment of my death still seeming vividly real in my mind. Looking at myself in the mirror, I suddenly realized that I had truly been reborn. Bang, 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 a series of loud knocks sounded at the door. I picked up my phone and saw it was 10 p.m., then noticed a flood of messages on WeChat, all from my cousin. "Bella, open the door. I've been knocking for ages and you still haven't answered. Don't tell me you've brought some random guy home. Hurry up and open the door, or I'll tell your mom and the others." Seeing these messages, I let out a mocking laugh, then leisurely put on my shoes and went to open the door. As soon as the door opened, Heidi rushed in eagerly, taking forever just to open the door. As soon as she entered, she acted as if she were in her own home, collapsing onto my small sofa without a care for her image. It's such a beautiful yet sad thing. I don't know why lately, my chest has been feeling swollen and painful. Upon hearing Heidi's words, I raised an eyebrow. In my previous life, after hearing this, I was concerned about my cousin's safety and consulted my doctor friend, who said that my cousin's chest was indeed too large and could be appropriately reduced. She followed my advice and underwent surgery, and her chest did become much more normal. She said it was all thanks to me and that she should really thank me, but in the blink of an eye, when she found out that her crush was dating a girl with a large bust, she went crazy, rushed to my house, and smothered me to death on the bed. I still remember that bone-deep feeling of suffocation. Cousin, you should think of it this way. Just like a rose, beauty always comes with thorns. Heidi happily smiled after hearing my words, her chest shaking significantly as well. In this life, just enjoy the big chest life you've always dreamed of. But having too big of a chest is indeed a bit inconvenient. I can hardly find clothes that fit. After saying that, Heidi straightened up and stared at me. "Bella, the pajamas you're wearing look quite nice, but your chest is too small to fill them out. Let me try them on for you." After saying that, she wanted to directly start taking off my clothes, but I slapped the back of her hand. Before she could get angry, I quickly smiled and said, "Cousin, if you like it, I can buy it for you." Hearing that I was going to buy her clothes, Heidi's eyes were filled with greedy desire. "All right then, I've actually picked out a few styles on my phone recently. You can pay for them." "Sure, cousin." Not long after, she sent me the items to pay for, and I noticed that the clothes she had chosen were all quite sexy and revealing. I picked out a few more for her. Since she likes to show off, let her show off a bit more. Then I'll go take a shower and sleep. Remember to put my clothes in the washing machine later. I need to get to bed early for my beauty sleep, otherwise my breasts will get smaller. I nodded and watched as she went back to her room. My parents only had me, and to make it convenient for me to go to work, they bought me a retro-style apartment. But after Heidi found out, she made a fuss and insisted on living with me. First, she convinced my parents, and then she tried to brainwash me, saying things like, "It's safer for two people to be together, and there would be one more person to take care of me." As it turned out, during the 6 months she came to live with me, I was the one taking care of her. Every time I come home, there's a pile of trash, especially a bunch of delivery packages left in my living room. She doesn't wash her clothes, even though there's a washing machine. She won't throw them in. She even leaves her own underwear soaking in the sink. The first time I saw it, I was genuinely disgusted. I tried to persuade her a few times, but it didn't work. When I wanted to kick her out, she pitifully said, "Please forgive me, I won't do it again." She really didn't do that again afterward. The next day, When I woke up and went to the living room to get water, I heard Heidi in her room speaking in a cutesy voice on the phone. Brother, do you want to see me wear it? Oh, no, I'm so shy. Hearing that kind of baby voice sent shivers down my spine. All right then, Brother Che, you have to keep your promise. As soon as the words fell, I heard the rustling sound of clothes being changed in the room. It turned out that at this time, Heidi had already hooked up with Charles. No wonder she went so crazy in her previous life. Charles was a senior we both shared. We all graduated from University A. Back then, Charles was a famous campus heartthrob, handsome, wealthy, and quite skilled at playing with women. Ironically, he had once pursued me. Bella, can I get to know you? I've liked you for a long time. I still remember that day. It happened to be raining. I stood at the library entrance without an umbrella, waiting for the rain to stop before heading back to the dorm. So the guy confessed his feelings to me right in the library. Yes, he stood in the rain. What an idiot. I thought the guy was out of his mind at the time, so I rejected him without a second thought. Later, I heard that because of this, I quickly made it onto the confession wall, earning the title of Heartbreaker and becoming a campus celebrity. The post was also explosively titled, Heartbreaker makes melancholy prince stand in the rain. He is the melancholy prince, and I am the heartbreaker. Because of this incident, Heidi even posted the thread in the family group chat. At the time, my parents and a series of relatives and friends all came to ask me what was going on. I went through a lot of trouble to clear things up. Afterward, the counselor had to get involved to have the post removed from the confession wall. But because of this, my last 2 years of college were really tough. And Heidi just said indifferently, who told you to reject Charles? Do you even know whose love you turned down? You deserve it. At the time, I didn't know she liked Charles and thought she was just frustrated with me for not living up to expectations. It wasn't until half a year ago, on the day she moved into my place, that I found out she had been secretly in love with Charles throughout college. After graduating, Heidi started working as a clothing model. She was doing well in City J, so I found it strange that she insisted on coming to City S, where I live. Later, she accidentally let it slip herself, saying that Charles was in S City. Suddenly, the jarring music interrupted my memories. It turned out to be my work alarm ringing. I looked up and saw Heidi already standing at the door, staring at me. Bella, what are you doing at my door, eavesdropping on my phone call? Huh, when did you start doing such sneaky things? I calmly waved my hand and said, you've misunderstood, cousin. I came to ask what you'd like for breakfast. I'll make it for you. Heidi looked at me with a suspicious gaze. All right, make me a cup of soy milk and a cheese bread. I looked at the lingerie she was wearing, with most of her chest exposed, and she was still eating her so-called breast enhancement meal. However, if she wants it this way, I'll let her have it. It would be best if she could use her chest to firmly lock onto Charles and not go around harming others. A scumbag with a cheap woman, truly a match made in heaven. In my previous life, Heidi blamed me for making her miss out on her crush, so this time, I'll make sure she gets what she wants. After finishing breakfast, I hurried out of the house, but I wasn't heading to work. I had already taken a day off from work last night, saying I had something urgent to attend to and wouldn't be able to make it to the office today. While sitting in the noodle shop downstairs, I watched Heidi swaying out of her house. A man on the roadside whistled loudly at her, and she cursed in disgust. Idiot, go whistle for your mom, blow the funeral tune for her. The man's thick eyebrows instantly shot up, and a shadowy, unclear light flashed in his eyes. Had heard of this man before. Rumor had it he was a street thug. After Heidi left, I quickly returned home. I carefully checked every corner of the house and, sure enough, found a camera in the shower. In my previous life, I didn't realize how crazy Heidi was until I was on the verge of death. She had actually installed a camera in the bathroom. Initially, Charles had asked her to install one in her own room, but later she installed one in the bathroom herself. Truly, a fool and a scoundrel. A perfect match. I quickly turned off the internet connection for the bathroom camera on my computer, but I kept the one in Heidi's room and made a backup for myself. 6:00 p.m. Bella, no matter what you're doing right now, come pick me up quickly. I looked at the message Heidi had sent on my phone. But I have a meeting at the company. Just as I was expressionlessly thinking about what to do next, Heidi's relentless calls came through. Just like in my previous life, Heidi asked me to pick her up from the bar again. Unfortunately, She didn't expect that I had been reborn. I deliberately dawdled on the way until Heidi called me several more times to hurry me up. I never expected to run into an old acquaintance as soon as I walked into the bar. Bella, it really is you. It's been a long time since we last met. I didn't expect you to be in S-City. Long time no see. Even a ghost wouldn't believe that. Line, I didn't give him a good look, just nodded perfunctorily. Bella, I'm here. Hurry up and come over. Seeing that Charles was about to grab my hand, Heidi couldn't hold back and shouted my name loudly. I walked over to her. She was wearing a tight black sequin mini dress, with two little pom-poms dangling on her chest. Anyone who didn't know better would think she was out looking for business. Cousin, let's go. So this is the cousin our sister-in-law mentioned. She's really pretty, brother. Treat her to a drink. Yeah, she's really attractive. As soon as I spoke, the two men next to Heidi, who looked shifty-eyed and utterly drained, eagerly started talking to me. I suddenly felt like I was being stared at by two weasels. Yeah, my cousin has never had a boyfriend before. After Heidi finished speaking, I clearly felt three pairs of eyes staring at me intensely from all around. Seeing me standing there unmoved, Heidi immediately became unhappy and pulled me over, trying to push me. Between the two men, I used a clever move, instantly swapping positions with her so that she fell toward the two men. I saw with my own eyes that the two men's gazes were firmly glued to her ample chest. Seeing this, Charles was furious and immediately stepped forward, punching each of the two men. The two men could only bow their heads meekly, not daring to resist. Heidi's reproachful gaze swept over me. Cousin, why did you push him? He was just trying to help you find a boyfriend. I almost vomited. Who would introduce such a person to their own cousin? I wouldn't even take him for free. I leaned down and whispered a few words into my cousin's ear, watching her eyes grow brighter. A smile curled at the corner of my mouth. Bella, if this works out, I'll definitely help you find a good man too. Hearing Heidi's words, I forced a smile. Relying on you is less reliable than hoping for a pie to fall from the sky. Heidi mustered her confidence and kept pouring drinks for Charles, one cup after another. While I silently watched everything from the corner, Charles got drunk, and Heidi helped him leave. I stood up and left, quietly making a phone call. Not long after I got home, while I was comfortably soaking in the bath, I received a call from Heidi. I hate you so much, Bella, you little bitch, you slut. Was it you who called the police? Cousin, I didn't do anything at all. I was too busy trying to help you. Did you succeed? On the other end of the phone, Heidi's triumphant voice came through. Of course I succeeded. As soon as I stepped in, I've already gotten together with Charles. I'm warning you, he's now officially my man, so don't even think about him anymore. With that, Heidi hung up the phone. I knew from my past life that Charles was no good. He had a way with women. Those he fancied, he sweet-talked and then slept with. Those he didn't, he treated like dogs. And the fact that Heidi had been around him for so long without anything happening showed that he didn't have his eye on her. I was really looking forward to seeing how Charles would react to being slept with by a woman he didn't even fancy. I had just finished my bath, cut up a plate of fruit, and was watching TV when I saw Heidi return, looking utterly disheveled. Was it really not you who played a trick on Bella? As soon as she came in, she rushed up to me, trying to slap me. I grabbed her hand with one hand and said with an innocent expression, Cousin, how could I have called the police? I truly believe you and Charles are a perfect match. Bitch, she carefully examined my expression, making sure I wasn't lying, before turning around and sitting on another sofa. It was only then that I observed her with great interest. Goodness, her tight little black dress was completely ruined. One of the small pom-poms on the chest had fallen off. The neckline was much larger than before. It felt like it might pop out at any moment. And there were some inexplicable water stains on the hem of the skirt. How disgusting. Stepping into my home is practically polluting it. Heidi noticed my gaze on her. She tossed her long hair with a flirtatious look and said, Bella, you must not be too envious. You have no idea how happy Charles and I were tonight. If the police hadn't shown up later, we probably would have gone at it all night. After saying that, she covered her face with both hands, feigning shyness. Cousin, rest assured, I definitely won't envy you. Seeing that she couldn't get a rise out of me, Heidi's face twisted, and she continued, Charles said he really likes my chest. What a pity, cousin, with your flat figure, I doubt many would want you. Who on earth taught her such mindless remarks? Who in modern society Are women still being judged by their chest at any time? A woman's external beauty should not be a target for attack, so hearing Heidi's words really made me want to punch her. Cousin, I think your chest would look even better if it were a bit bigger, don't you think? As soon as Heidi heard the mention of her chest, she immediately straightened her posture. Really, I think so too. It would be even more perfect if it were a bit bigger, closer to the beautiful girls in anime. I chimed in with a few words, and Heidi stared thoughtfully at her own chest. After a long while, she seemed to have made up her mind about something and ran back to her room. A month passed, and Heidi never came back to me, nor did she contact me. It wasn't until my aunt called me that I found out Heidi hadn't contacted them either. Bella, please help me find your cousin, we're not by her side, and we're worried something might have happened to her. Hearing the panic and urgency in my aunt's voice, my heart was touched. My aunt and uncle had always been very good to me. When I was little, they would buy me a copy of anything new and interesting they got. Aunt, I'll help look for my cousin. After hanging up the phone, just as I was about to call Heidi, she called me first. Cousin, come to the hospital right away. I rushed to the hospital, and from a distance, I saw my cousin shouting at the doctor, I don't care, you have to save my baby, otherwise, I'll sue you for murder. Ma'am, please calm down first, you're only 1 month pregnant, and the embryo is currently very unstable, showing signs of threatened miscarriage. I don't want to hear it, you have to make sure this pregnancy is safe for me. Hearing this, I finally understood why she had disappeared for a month and was now pregnant. Heidi's eyes lit up when she saw me. Bella, hurry up and scold this unethical hospital for me. They actually want me to have an abortion. I walked up and pretended to comfort her. Cousin, you're pregnant. What about Charles? Why isn't he by your side? Heidi looked a bit uneasy. Of course, he's busy with work. Otherwise, who would give me money to spend? Seeing her like this, it was almost certain that Charles had gone off to fool around with other women. Sure enough, Heidi's phone rang. You bitch. Who told you to get pregnant with my child? How dare you inform my mom? Do you want to die or something? Heidi replied in a coquettish voice. Brother Che, I don't know how I got pregnant either. This is an unexpected surprise from our true love. Nonsense. How did I become part of this crazy couple's play? The voice on the other end of the phone was loud, and in the end, Charles said, get an abortion. Before hanging up, Heidi gripped her phone tightly, her fingers turning pale. Bella, what do you think I should do next? Cousin, I think no parent would be willing to let their child drift away from home. Heidi was instantly jolted awake by my words. You're right, my son is a descendant of the Yuan family. I don't believe his parents would refuse to acknowledge him. Watching the sinister smile curl at the corner of her lips, I slowly began to smile as well, as I had anticipated. Heidi rushed to the Yuan family and caused a scene, ultimately getting her wish to stay with them. I see her on social media every day, showing off driving a top luxury car today and buying from a luxury store tomorrow. It's either bags, shoes, or some high-end cosmetics. She dresses up all day like a high society lady. Her belly is getting bigger and bigger, and it's also growing larger, showing signs of sagging. However, I did hear that Charles has been getting quite cozy with a minor celebrity lately. They've been caught checking into hotels together every other day, the actress openly posted photos on social media flaunting them, hinting at her sugar daddy. Combined with my subtle hints about all this, Heidi couldn't hold back any longer. She personally went to confront them and, sure enough, caught them in the act. Heidi couldn't accept Charles's affection for another woman, and like a madwoman, she cursed at Charles and the female celebrity, spewing filth from her mouth. Charles couldn't hold back and kicked her directly. At this time, Heidi was already 7 months pregnant. With that kick, Heidi soon saw red, with bright red blood continuously flowing from beneath her. Charles quickly had someone take her to the hospital. Fortunately, she was sent there quickly, and Heidi gave birth to a daughter. How could it be a daughter? I clearly gave birth to a son. Heidi finally faced reality. Charles only saw her as a plaything, and now she had only given birth to a daughter. How could she marry into a wealthy family? What no one expected was that although Charles didn't show up, his mother came instead. In her words, she showed great concern for Heidi and even explicitly stated that she wanted to bring Heidi back to the Yuan family to continue her pregnancy. She even smiled warmly at this newborn granddaughter, showing great affection. A glimmer of hope gradually reignited in Heidi's eyes, As long as she could return to the Yuan family, she would definitely have another chance to give birth to a son, but only I saw the contempt deep in Yuan's mother's eyes and the way she looked at me as if I were a piece of merchandise. Heidi followed Yuan's mother back to the Yuan family. At first, she often posted grateful messages on her social media, saying, "Thank you for my mother-in-law's love. She treats me just like her own daughter." Another day of being fed by my mother-in-law. Then, she also posted pictures of soybeans stewed with pig's trotters, pig bone lactation soup, and spinach pork liver soup. Just these dishes alone filled up the entire 9-square grid. After posting for half a month straight, Heidi suddenly stopped updating her social media feed one day. Only a fool like Heidi would willingly believe what others say. I saw her again in the middle of the night, banging loudly on the door. Peering through the peephole, I was startled to see Heidi. Her face was pale, her hair a tangled mess, and she was wearing a nursing top with no bra underneath, making her chest quite noticeable. I opened the door, and Heidi walked in, looking utterly distraught. "Cousin, what's wrong with you, Bella? Lend me 200,000, I have an urgent need." Hearing the amount of 200,000, I immediately showed a troubled expression. "Cousin, it's not that I don't want to lend it to you, but all my money is tied up in fixed deposits." Hearing me say this, Heidi was not pleased. "I don't care, you can take out a loan, just give me 200,000, that's all." I was almost amused by this shameless demand. Take out a loan to give her money? Cousin, you've given birth to Charles's child. How come they aren't giving you any money? I've heard that some wealthy families pay $1 million for each child. They can't have given you nothing at all, can they? Heidi's face instantly turned from pale to ashen, her eyes filled with terror. This made me wonder if something had happened to her. "None of your business, mind your own affairs." After hearing that I had no money, Heidi left with just that one sentence. The next morning, I received a call from Charles. "Bella, did Heidi come to see you last night?" Charles, that scumbag, sounded anxious, as if his inheritance was about to be snatched away, and his tone carried a hint of accusation from the very start. "He did come, but then he left again." As soon as I finished speaking, I immediately hung up the phone. I held my phone, lost in thought. As far as I know, Charles is not an only child. Since ancient times, wealthy families have often had many children. Moreover, Charles isn't even the legitimate son, according to rumors. His mother forced the first wife to death to secure her position, so he has an older brother and an older sister above him. As for those below him, there are far more younger brothers and sisters. But even if it's about fighting for inheritance, what does that have to do with Heidi? Not long after, the Yuan family suddenly exposed a shocking scandal. Explosion # wealthy father-in-law disregards ethics and drinks daughter-in-law's breast milk. After reading this, I can only say that evil people are met with their own kind. Is this something a human being could do? There's also a video inside, where Heidi is kneeling on the floor with disheveled clothes, her cheeks swollen and red, but her expression is full of resentment as she glares at the original father. Once the video was exposed, the Yuan family's stock market experienced severe turbulence, and soon a large amount of stock market value evaporated. I guess Heidi will definitely come to my place tonight. Sure enough, when I opened the door and looked at her, she was in a worse state than ever before. "Cousin, the Yuan family is really not a good thing." After hearing my words of comfort, Heidi burst into tears. "That old woman and that old man are just too despicable. When I was pregnant, they didn't give me a single penny, only a few used bags and a couple of pairs of shoes. After I gave birth, that old man actually came every night to drink my breast milk. No wonder that old woman made so many delicious things for me. It was all to boost my milk supply." After hearing all this, I clicked my tongue repeatedly, never imagining the Yuan family could be so disgusting. No wonder Heidi took her back and cared for her meticulously after giving birth. It turns out she wanted her breast milk. In my previous life, I vaguely knew that Charles always looked for women with large breasts first, and then considered their faces. At the time, I just thought it was shallow, but now it seems there's an unknown amount of filth hidden behind it. Not long after Heidi's tearful complaint, my door was once again pounded with a loud thud. I peeked through the peephole and saw it was Charles, his eyes bloodshot and his expression quite fierce. I knew he must have come looking for Heidi, because he thought she was the one who exposed this matter. Little did he know that the net of justice is vast and leaves no loopholes. As soon as I opened the door, Charles pushed me aside. Heidi, I knew you were here, you troublemaker, you've turned my home upside down, and now you're hiding here, you wretch. I'm telling you, this isn't over. With that, Charles clapped his hands, and two burly bodyguards emerged from behind, dragging away the sobbing Heidi. Save my cousin, call for help. Heidi's mouth was covered, and I could see the terror in her eyes, tears streaming down the corners. This looks so much like me before I died. Stay out of Bella's affairs, or you won't be able to stay in S City. After hearing Charles's warning, I didn't take it seriously anyway, since I had no intention of getting involved in the first place. I just need to wait patiently for things to unfold until they reach a perfect conclusion. Heidi was severely beaten as soon as she was taken back to the Yuan family that day. It turned out that she had managed to escape earlier because Mr. Yuan had fainted, and it was precisely he who had caused Mr. Yuan to faint. She was locked in a basement, which was pitch dark inside. 5 days later, she was finally released. At this moment, Heidi was completely stunned, as if she had lost the will to live. Yuan's father woke up but was left paralyzed in bed due to a stroke. The Yuan family had originally intended for her to take care of Yuan's father, but they saw that whenever she tried to feed him, she would shove the food into his nostrils, and when she tried to give him water, she would pour it into his eyes. Not to mention asking her to change his diapers, she would just toss them around the house, leaving feces and urine everywhere. Yuan's mother was so furious that she immediately ordered someone to throw her out. I thought Heidi would come back to find me soon. I never expected to hear about her again in the casual chatter among the aunts and relatives in the family group. Have you heard? Heidi has breast cancer. It's so tragic for such a young girl to get this disease. Exactly. It's such a pity. In my previous life, she smothered me to death with her own hands. In this life, it's not bad that she died of breast cancer. At least it didn't dirty my hands. I stopped paying attention to her affairs, and life gradually returned to peace. But tonight, on my way home, I couldn't shake off a sense of unease in my heart. It felt as if something was about to happen at any moment. My premonition was indeed correct. Just as I was about to close the door after returning home, a hand pushed it hard, nearly knocking me backward. I quickly ran to the second room on the left. As soon as I entered, I was slapped hard and fell to the ground. By the moonlight from the window, I could clearly see the figure of the person in front of me. It was Heidi. Heidi turned on the light. Bella, why didn't you persuade me to have the surgery like you did in our previous life? You've also been reborn, haven't you? And earlier than me. After saying that, she laughed to herself. You wretched woman, in my previous life, I just accidentally smothered you to death. Why are you harming me like this? Is this all your revenge on me? If it weren't for you, how could I have been violated by that thug? I only then learned that when Heidi was diagnosed with breast cancer, she was assaulted by the thug she had insulted while passing through the grass. Under immense psychological trauma, she ended up being reborn. Heidi hurled her phone at me, then bent down, grabbed my chin, and dragged her long nails across my cheek. Bella, in your past life, you died by my hand, and in this life, you will die by my hand too. This is fate, and everyone must learn to accept it. Cousin, have you accepted your fate? In this life, you were abandoned, humiliated, and got breast cancer. Have you accepted your fate? I turned my face away, shaking off her hand. If it weren't for you, I would definitely be better off than I am now. Why didn't you advise me when you came back early? You just wanted to see me suffer, didn't you? I leaned close to her ear. Cousin, you are a rotten person yourself, destined to live in the mud. Heidi was provoked by me, and directly took a fruit knife from her bag, stabbing it towards me. I did not dodge. Just as the fruit knife was about to pierce my body, Heidi leaned close to me, her eyes filled with venom and resentment. Do you think I don't know what you came to this room for? I was the one who installed the surveillance camera in this room. Ha 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 ha. Bella said you were stupid, and you really are stupid to the core. How could I possibly kill you here? Heidi left my house. I watched as she casually threw the knife on my table and then limped away. Yet, I feel a deep unease in my heart. Heidi is like a venomous snake right now, ready to strike at any moment. To completely resolve this threat, I decided to lure the snake out of its hole. A few days later, another major piece of news broke out. Explosion. Second young master of the Yuan family inherits Yuan family company. As expected, that night, Charles sent me a message saying Heidi had approached him. I quietly sipped tea in the darkness. Gazing at the starry sky above, no one knew exactly what had happened that night. The next day, my uncle and aunt came to my house. As soon as they saw me, they burst into tears. "Bella, what's going on? How did your cousin end up in jail?" I watched as my aunt cried like a fountain, and I had never seen my uncle shed tears before, but his eyes were also red. "Uncle, aunt, what are you talking about? My cousin is in jail." I promptly put on a look of surprise. By the time we arrived at the police station, we happened to see my cousin being led away in handcuffs by the police. "Don't let them come over. I don't want to see them," Heidi shouted frantically, urging the police to take her away quickly. Amidst her aunt's wailing and crying, she never once looked back. Heidi was sentenced to 11 years in prison for the combined crimes of child abandonment and attempted intentional homicide. In prison, it was said that Heidi was having a very hard time. The large tumor she had once been so proud of had to be removed due to illness, and she couldn't bear the torment, so she began to starve herself every day. Later, she requested to meet with me. I knew what that meant, and I refused. Not long after, she died a miserable death. If every wrong deed deserved forgiveness, how aggrieved the victims would be. Therefore, she does not deserve my forgiveness. She must carry her repentance for me to hell to atone for her sins. Do you think I should keep her? It has nothing to do with me. Our transaction ended long ago. Yes, after careful consideration that day, I contacted Charles and told him a secret about his older brother. In the end, he won the inheritance rights, and all I needed was for him to send Heidi to prison. I admit I'm not a particularly good person either. I also used a baby to achieve my goal. Later, I submitted my resignation to my current company. I plan to use my current savings to explore the world thoroughly. Before I died in my previous life, I suddenly felt a deep regret for not having truly experienced the world, so I want to see the world first. But before I left, I still went to see her. At this moment, the sun was blazing outside the window, warming every spot it touched, but there were always places the sun couldn't reach. Extra, my name is Lin Tong. From the moment I was born, my father never liked me. When I turned 5, I was sent to an orphanage. One day I saw a very beautiful aunt, but that day I saw her crying. I wanted to step forward and hand her a tissue, but she shook her head. Then she told me a story, in which there was a bad woman who wanted to hurt her but was sent to prison by her. I knew that bad woman was my mother, whom I had never truly met. Since childhood, I had heard that she went to prison because she abandoned me and nearly killed my great-grandfather. I don't blame the aunt in front of me. I also hate such a bad woman, but since then, I have never seen this aunt again. After hearing the first story above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Next, there is another similar story. Let's continue to see. My sister is obsessed with death literature. She believes that if she dies, everyone will fall madly in love with her and deeply regret her death. I have stopped her from attempting suicide and self-harm more than once. He even advised her, only staying alive is the most important thing. Once you're dead, you truly have nothing left. When my parents found out about this, they didn't feel pity or sympathy for her. Instead, they thought she was incredibly foolish, but she believed I was deliberately causing trouble, trying to prevent her from harming herself to win the admiration of a wealthy second-generation heir. She tied me and my parents up in the basement and tortured us for 3 days and 3 nights. Sickly laughing, he said, "You're right, only the living can have everything. So you go die and leave it all to me." When I opened my eyes again, my parents and I had returned to the day we first discovered her self-harm. Waking up once more, before I was fully conscious, I met my sister by Qianqian's melancholy gaze. Does Bella Shan know that I love him so much I would die for him? If he knew, he would never have taken his mistress out to have fun. When will he truly understand his own heart? By Qianqian's soft murmur sounded beside me, and I saw that familiar scene once again. There was a deep cut on her arm from a small knife, and bright red blood was seeping from the wound. As she spoke, 2 clear streams of tears flowed down her face. "Sister, don't try to stop me from taking my own life. I really can't live without him." Unfortunately, her wealthy second-generation boyfriend, Bella Shan, would never know. After all, the number of women who have been by young Master Zhao's side is too many to count on 2 hands. I stared fixedly at the scratches on his arm, unable to look away even when my eyes began to ache. How could this pain compare to the agony of being imprisoned by him in the basement with my parents and tortured with a knife in my previous life, in my past life? Bai Qianqian was just the same. She got together with the wealthy young master Bella Shan during her senior year of college. At first, the two were indeed very much in love, but Bella Shan had seen too many women and quickly lost his sense of novelty towards Bai Qianqian. He then proposed a breakup. However, Bai Qianqian, who had been obsessed with romance novels since childhood, couldn't accept the sudden loss of love and cried every day. After being exposed to death literature, she even started talking to herself at home every day. I understand now. This is telling me to self-harm or commit suicide so that he'll regret it and chase after me. As long as I die, he will immediately regret it and cry his heart out at my grave. So she began to self-harm and attempt suicide. At first, her self-harm really caught Belashan's attention, though it was his annoyance, but because of this attention, Bai Qianqian became convinced that the dead person literature was right and began to intensify her self-harm. She believed that as long as she was injured, the male lead Bella Shan would follow the plot's development. Upon seeing her covered in scars, he suddenly realized that Bai Qianqian was his true love. When I'm on the verge of death, he will surely go mad with regret. Sooner or later, he will realize that I am the one who loves him the most, and that dead green tea bitch can just wait to face brother Qingshan's furious revenge. My parents and I all thought she had gone mad, so we confiscated all the knives in the house and kept her locked inside, only opening the door when she needed to go to school. Yet she believed that we were the ones preventing her from marrying Bella Shan. On the day of Bella Shan's wedding, she drugged and tied us up in the basement, torturing us for 3 whole days. Sister, are you really going to stop me? You've never been in love, so you wouldn't understand how intoxicating the favor of a domineering CEO can be. Bai Qianqian looked at me with tears in her eyes, yet her gaze held a clear and ruthless intensity, as if she would stab me with a knife the moment I uttered a word of refusal. She was overthinking it. Of course, I wouldn't stop her. This was a lesson I had learned at the cost of my entire family's lives. I won't stop you. Do whatever you want. You're an adult now, and neither I nor our parents will interfere with your life anymore. Bai Qianqian didn't take it too seriously. After all, her parents had always doted on her since she was little, and she believed that if she ever got into trouble, she could just cry a little and everything would be fine. She picked up the fruit knife again and forcefully made a deep cut on her wrist, but her technique was extremely skillful, as if she had practiced it countless times before. Although the wound looked frightening, it posed little threat to her life. The flesh rolled back with the cut of the knife, and Bai Qianqian quickly snapped a picture of the scene and sent it to Bella Shan. She then called an ambulance for herself. I watched her actions with a cold eye, and after seeing her being lifted into the ambulance, I hesitated for a moment before following along. Not long after Bai Qianqian was settled in the hospital room, Bella Shan appeared. He entered the ward with a cold expression and empty hands, but the moment she saw Bella Shan, Bai Qianqian, who had been extremely weak, became as excited as if she had experienced a sudden burst of energy. She whispered triumphantly, "Humph, I knew this dog man was just pretending not to care. See, he came to check on me the moment he found out I was injured, didn't he? After all, if I really die, he'll lose the one he loves." However, before Bai Qianqian could finish gloating, Bella Shan interrupted her with a cold expression, and his words were completely different from what she had imagined. Bai Qianqian, have you had enough of this? How many times have you used this self-harm and suicide trick? What exactly do you want? Bai Qianqian was taken aback upon hearing this, her face filled with disbelief. In an instant, her eyes turned as red as a rabbit's. How can you say that? Why do you misunderstand me again? Brother Qingshan, you have to believe me. I did all this because I love you so much. Bella Shan looked at her with a face full of irritation. Enough. His voice was as cold as shattered ice. You're truly insane. Have you forgotten that we've already broken up? Upon hearing this, Bai Qianqian froze. Break up? We didn't break up. I never agreed to break up. I'm about to die. Bella Shan, she muttered to herself, as if she had gone mad. The plot shouldn't be like this. If you treat me this way now, what will you do when you regret it later and can't win me back? Bai Qianqian, have you lost your mind? What would I regret? Bella Shan rubbed his forehead. Your top priority is to uninstall those Qimao and Qidian novels. and then go see a doctor to get your head checked. Just then, the doctor suddenly knocked on the hospital room door, entered with the medical records, and said seriously, "Bai Qianqian, didn't you know you're 8 weeks pregnant? Your current behavior is very dangerous. If this continues, you could easily have a miscarriage." What? This exclamation was uttered simultaneously by Belashan and Bai Qianqian. Belashan was shocked and angry, wondering why Bai Qianqian was still pregnant despite him always taking precautions. Bai Qianqian was delighted that her previous action of poking holes in the condom had indeed been the right move. The next step would be the plot of her running away while pregnant. "Brother Qingshan, you hit the mark on the first try. You're truly amazing." Bai Qingqing batted her eyelashes at Belashan, her voice dripping with sweetness. I huddled in the corner, watching Belashan, who was fuming with anger, and Bai Qianqian, lost in her dream of being the female lead. My fingers never stopped typing as I live-streamed this real-life ethical drama in the family group chat, which only had me and my parents. Yes, in this life, I wasn't the only one who had been reborn. The moment Bai Qianqian self-harmed in front of our entire family, I realized that Mom and Dad had also been reborn. They also told me a secret. Bai Qianqian was actually their adopted child. Her biological parents had once done a great favor for my parents, which was why they had doted on her all these years. But who would have thought, in that case, in this lifetime, we decided to stay away from Bai Qianqian. She is already an adult, and our parents have no obligation to support her. Whatever she wants to do, she can fend for herself. In my moment of distraction, I don't know what method Bai Qianqian used, but she managed to get Belashan, who originally wanted to abort the child, to take her back to a cramped and narrow apartment he rarely lived in. But Bai Qianqian thought that Belashan was keeping her in a golden cage, a sign of his uncontrollable love for her. She would occasionally make video calls, showing off to us how she had become the envy of everyone in a romance novel. "Mom and Dad, you should quit that lousy job of yours as soon as possible. Even the nannies and security guards at Brother Qingshan's place earn more than you too. Why don't you just focus on taking care of me? After all, I don't trust anyone else to look after me during my pregnancy. What if some little tramp tries to latch onto Brother Qingshan and schemes against me, the mother of his firstborn grandson? Bai Susu, you too. I can match you with Brother Qingshan's assistant or driver, but don't even think about his friends. After all, you're not that good-looking," I said sarcastically. "Thank you so much. As expected of a romance novel heroine, you're truly kind-hearted." Hearing my reply, Bai Qianqian couldn't hide the glee and smugness in her eyes. I can't be bothered to deal with her anymore. Every day, she just drags her parents around shopping and traveling, and they even went to look at houses together. But before even half a month had passed, Bai Qianqian came running home in tears, with a shocking slap mark on her face. Her face was unusually red and swollen. It was clear that the person who hit her had used full force, and it wasn't just one slap. I glanced at his slightly protruding belly and, for the first time, wondered if he really was the female lead. Otherwise, how could the baby in his belly be so resilient? I didn't know it was Bai Qianqian when I opened the door, and I certainly didn't expect her to start smashing things as soon as she got home. The house was filled with the sound of breaking objects and Bai Qianqian's cries. "It's all your fault. If you were rich, how could I be looked down upon by those bitches? I don't even dress as well as the servants at Brother Qingshan's house." Bai Qianqian still thought that our parents doted on her as much as in her previous life, and she said without a care, "Mom, Dad, give me some money, and make it a lot. I need to buy luxury bags and clothes, or I'll stay mad at you forever and never forgive you. No matter what we do, Bai Qianqian will always think we ruined her tragic literary plot and still try to get benefits from us. She's just a selfish, delusional fool with a head full of nonsense." Dad stood up angrily and shouted, "Bai Qianqian, do you really think you're some kind of rich young lady? If you want to buy those things, earn the money yourself, or go ask your Qingshan brother for it." My sister looked shocked and screamed, "Mom, look at Dad. How could he say that? I'm supposed to be a strong female lead. How can I spend a man's money? What would that make me?" "Your dad is right." Mom rolled her eyes. "You want to be a strong female lead and not spend a man's money. Isn't your dad a man? And isn't the child in your belly his? It's only natural for him to spend money on you. What does that make Me then, I'm not with brother Qing Shan for his money, and I'm definitely not some scheming woman trying to climb the social ladder by using my pregnancy. The baby in my belly is bound to be a genius. Don't you understand investment? How ridiculous. Susu, come on, let's go have a big meal with mom and dad. Aren't you afraid I'll run away from home and never come back? But no one paid any attention to her. I smiled, linked arms with my parents, and walked out the door, leaving Bai Qianqian alone to throw her tantrum at home. Over the next few days, Bai Qianqian sulked and didn't say a word to us. We stopped paying attention to her too. Before we bought our ideal new house, I still hoped she would really run away from home soon. After all, my parents have lived in this old neighborhood for decades, and some neighbors are aware of the reasons why they adopted Bai Qianqian. Kicking her out of the house without a clear explanation would invite gossip. I don't want my parents' lifelong reputation to be ruined, but I never expected that the opportunity for her to leave would come so quickly. Suddenly, one day, when neither my parents nor I were home, Bai Qianqian, wearing a white dress, climbed up to the rooftop alone. The wind howled as she called Bella Shan, brother Qing Shan. Guess where I am right now? I don't care where you are, Bella Shan replied indifferently. I don't believe you don't care about me at all. The child and I are on the rooftop above my apartment right now. As long as you, Bai Qianqian's voice was carried by the wind into the phone on the other end. Bella Shan was utterly fed up and cut her off directly. Whether you live or die is none of my concern. As for the child, I already told you that night. With a woman as fickle as you, who knows if the child is even mine? Anyway, I won't acknowledge it, he said, his tone growing colder. Besides, it's not like I'm short of people to have children for me, brother Qing Shan. How could you doubt me? Do you know, if I die, there won't be anyone left in this world who loves you as much as I do, Bai Qianqian sobbed, her breath catching between cries. Just then, a passerby on the rooftop cried out in alarm, "Ma'am, please calm down, this is the 18th floor, whatever it is, can't we talk it out instead of resorting to such extremes? You don't understand anything, my boyfriend actually suspects me." Bai Qianqian shouted hysterically at the passerby. The sound also reached Belashan's ears. He rubbed his forehead helplessly and said, "What on earth do you want? Let me say it again. Go find a doctor and get your head checked. I just want you to look at me, just one glance, and I'll never bother you again, okay? You don't want to end up in the headlines because of me, do you?" Belashan fell silent for a moment, then said fiercely, "No matter what you're really after, I hope you keep your word." After I returned home with my parents, Bai Qianqian forced a faint smile on her pale face. Brother Qing Shan called me. He said he wants to come see me. I knew he must still love me. He was just temporarily blinded by that vixen outside. She couldn't help but glance at me, her eyes full of sparkle. "Sis, don't you think so? The one he loves must be me." Hearing her twist the truth, I simply sneered and walked into my room. Bai Qianqian, however, didn't seem to mind at all and picked up her makeup to dab and smear on her face. Belashan came to our house that very night, but no one in our family took it seriously except Bai Qianqian. Bai Qianqian put on a subtle no-makeup look and wore a white dress. However, her pale complexion and the white dress made her look like a drifting female ghost. As a result, the moment Belashan stepped through the door, he was startled by Bai Qianqian standing under the dim light in the entryway. "What's with this brothel-like behavior of yours?" Bai Qianqian, however, thought Belashan was complimenting her and looked up at the person in the doorway with a coquettish gaze, but she didn't know that at this moment, she resembled a sunken, withered corpse more than the delicate female lead. Belashan frowned as he watched. "What exactly do you want from me, going to such lengths to get me to come find you? I've told you 100 times that we're over. Can't you understand plain language? If you hadn't promised to stop bothering me, I wouldn't have come. Get that baby in your belly taken care of, you hear me? Who knows if it's even really mine?" As he spoke, he rolled his eyes dramatically. "Brother Qing Shan, how can you doubt my sincerity?" Before Bai Qianqian could finish, our neighbor, Auntie, who was clearly enjoying the drama, pushed her way through our door. This auntie is quite famous in our neighborhood for being a gossip. She can spin any story into something sensational. Not to mention our neighborhood is an old community. Any little stir gets known by the whole place. "Young man, how can you deny it when Bai Qianqian is carrying your child, and you even want her to get an abortion?" Is that how a man should act? You have no sense of responsibility at all. Exactly, exactly. Since Bai Qianqian is pregnant, they should get married. After criticizing Bella Shan, the aunties turned to blame Bai Qianqian. Qianqian, I don't mean to be harsh, but a young girl getting pregnant before marriage isn't something to be proud of. Back in my hometown, she'd be punished severely for that. You used to tell your mom you wanted to be a strong, independent woman. But you don't have a shred of a girl's self-respect or self-love. Bella Shan was so furious that his nose twisted in anger, pointing at Bai Qianqian. He said in a rage, Bai Qianqian, you insisted I come to your house just for this, didn't you? You gathered a crowd to watch the show. Are you trying to force me into marriage? What do you think you are? If you think you can marry me, you're dreaming. It's like a toad wanting to eat swan meat. After hearing this, Bai Qianqian shouted at the aunties, what does my business have to do with you idiots? What are you looking at? Get lost. What do you country bumpkins know? Her tears flowed uncontrollably like a floodgate had opened. Brother Qing Shan, look, I scolded them. They weren't brought here by me. Listen to my explanation. This must be the old trick of the vicious female supporting character slandering the female lead. Believe me, watching this scene, I hid behind my mother and snickered. It really wasn't Bai Qianqian who brought them. It was me. What is there to explain? What needs explaining? Do you think having a child gives you leverage over me? Ha, you underestimate me too much, Bella Shan said furiously. Coming to a place like this is just bad luck. Bella Shan tried to leave, but the aunties stopped him. Hey, explain yourselves clearly. How are we sent by some vicious supporting female character? One of you is shameless, getting pregnant before marriage, and the other is a spineless pretty boy, who among us isn't better than you two. We've watched Bai Qianqian grow up since she was little. Who would have thought she could speak so harshly? No wonder I've seen Susu's mother looking worried every day lately. Who wouldn't want to cut ties as soon as possible with a daughter like that? Bella Shan was so angry he was about to go crazy. He broke free from the auntie's restraint and slapped Bai Qianqian across the face. Don't call me anymore from now on. And I won't see you again either. Bye. Qianqian cried even harder. Brother Qing Shan, why don't you believe me? Go to hell, you're insane. Bella Shan shrugged and then left the place. Bai Qianqian slumped to the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. Why can't you just recognize what's in your heart? Do you have to wait until you regret it later? Suffering in agony through countless nights after I'm gone. As she spoke, the fresh wound on her arm reopened, bleeding incessantly. It looked utterly horrifying. Suddenly, Bai Qianqian seemed to realize something and quickly stood up, wanting to pounce on me and hit me. It's all your fault, Bai Susu. If you hadn't let those idiots into the house, how could I have ended up in such a mess with Brother Qing Shan? You're the one who ruined it for me. But before she could pounce on me, Dad pushed her away directly. Enough, Bai Qianqian. How have you become like this? How can you be so selfish now? Mom scolded sternly. Your sister is only thinking of you. Didn't you say you're the heroine of a tragic romance? Then you must go through hardships before finding true love. She's creating opportunities for you. Instead of thanking her, you blame her. How ungrateful. With reddened eyes and a choked voice, I said, Sis, even if I did nothing, it's still my fault, right? I never imagined you'd think of me this way. The aunt at the door also spoke up for me. That's right, Qianqian. Your sister has always doted on you since you were little. You're really breaking your family's heart like this. What do any of you know? An aunt rolled her eyes, picked a booger from her nose, and flicked it away, and the booger just happened to land right into Bai Qianqian's open mouth. Yes, we country folks don't understand anything. Bai Qianqian was about to retort when her mother mercilessly cut her off. Is this how I usually teach you to speak to your elders? Do you still want to stay in this family? Bai Qianqian glared at us with bloodshot eyes and said resolutely, I don't want to stay in this kind of biased family that holds me back. I want to cut ties with you. My heart leaped with joy, but I feigned disappointment and said, Bai Qianqian, are you sure about this? She nodded arrogantly, as if certain we would beg her to come back later. I've long wanted to distance myself from a family like yours. I always knew that the female lead is destined to have an unfortunate family of origin. Perhaps this is just a trial for us, the chosen ones. Today, I will break free from my family of origin. Hearing this, I didn't resort to sarcasm again. Instead, I concealed my inner delight and, in the presence of the aunties, signed a severance agreement with Bai Qianqian. In the ordinary days, a few pieces of gossip exploded like water droplets hitting a hot pan. The news that Bai Qianqian had cut ties with us, along with the affair between Bai Qianqian and Belashan, quickly spread throughout our neighborhood, then to other places, and finally reached the ears of Belashan's fiancé. Su Mengting. Su Mengting was a spoiled young lady with a somewhat domineering personality. Upon learning that her fiancé had a pregnant ex-girlfriend, she immediately brought people to lie in wait for Bai Qianqian at the school. On the very day Bai Qianqian signed the severance agreement, she packed her belongings with red eyes and returned to school, leaving behind the words, "Do not bully a young woman in poverty." She was very close to graduating from university, so she rarely returned to school on a regular basis, but she never expected that upon her return, she would be met with Su Mengting's revenge. Bai Qianqian, who hadn't left the house for several days, had just stepped out when Su Mengting, accompanied by a few others, grabbed her by the hair and dragged her into the restroom. All along the way, Bai Qianqian screamed and wailed, but no one dared to intervene. A friend of mine works as a teacher at Bai Qianqian's school. That day, I happened to have some business with my friend and witnessed this scene. I hid by the restroom door, secretly listening to the commotion inside. The bathroom door was slammed shut with force. Bai Qianqian's voice was filled with panic. "What are you doing? I'm pregnant. Do you know this is illegal? I'll sue you." Su Mengting's voice came through. "I didn't realize you knew the law. So it's you, this little tramp, who seduced Belashan. You don't even look that great. Must have used some sly tricks. Belashan is my boyfriend, and I'm carrying his child. I dare any of you to lay a hand on me. Your boyfriend, he's my fiancé. How shameless to act so righteous as the other woman these days. Humph, do you even know who I am? I'm the daughter of the Su family. Do you think you can afford to mess with me?" Everyone, "Beat her up, beat her until she can never seduce anyone again." A flurry of punches and kicks followed, and I heard the dull thuds of blows landing on flesh, accompanied by Bai Qianqian's pitiful cries, "Su Mengting, you'll die a horrible death. Ah, don't kick my stomach. Belashan likes me. He'll come to save me. You can still talk. Seems like you haven't been beaten enough. All of you, hit harder. Did you not eat or what?" Gradually, Bai Qianqian stopped shouting, her voice growing softer and softer. Half an hour later, Bai Qianqian was left only with labored gasps. "I was wrong. I know I was wrong. Please stop hitting me, bitch. Don't let me see you again. Stay away from Belashan." The restroom door swung open, and Su Mengting strode out with her entourage. I quietly approached, looking at Bai Qianqian's bruised and swollen face, feeling an indescribable sense of satisfaction. For a long time, Bai Qianqian couldn't move at all. I secretly snapped a few photos of her miserable state before quickly slipping away. Finally, Bai Qianqian was saved by someone who came in to use the restroom and called 120. However, it was unexpected that the child in her womb was as tenacious as the one in the dead female protagonist's literature, surviving all those punches and kicks unscathed. During the more than a month Bai Qianqian was hospitalized, she thought the severance letter was a joke and called us countless times, but we didn't answer a single one, so she kept sending WeChat messages to curse us. After Bai Qianqian was discharged from the hospital, her days at school became extremely difficult because of Su Mengting. Su Mengting constantly set obstacles for Bai Qianqian, making her look foolish in front of classmates and teachers. After class, she would find various excuses to pick fights with her, using all sorts of reasons to get physical. Unfortunately, Bai Qianqian, who usually loved to act like a delicate and fragile little white flower, was no match for Su Mengting. She also told every one of Bai Qianqian's classmates about her affair with Belashan, causing her to be isolated by the entire class. She even specifically had her family donate a building to the school, just so the school would give Bai Qianqian a major demerit for being a mistress. Su Mengting once again accused Bai Qianqian of cheating during the final exam. Su Mengting also found out that Belashan had given her a lot of money before because she was pregnant, and she demanded that it be repaid within a month. As a result, Bai Qianqian hadn't gotten back even a single cent of that money. It had long been spent by the very person who claimed to be a strong, independent woman herself, so she simply couldn't Repay it, Su Mengting then forced Bai Qianqian to choose between dropping out of school or repaying the money. Evil people have their own evil people to deal with. Tormented to the brink of madness, Bai Qianqian ultimately chose to voluntarily drop out of school. The counselor informed us about Bai Qianqian's decision to drop out, originally intending for us to persuade her to reconsider, but our parents said they had already severed ties with her and told the counselor to handle it as they saw fit. So the counselor stopped wasting words and simply let Bai Qianqian leave the school. After dropping out, Bai Qianqian took advantage of our inattention and rushed home like a madwoman, overturning the table and shouting, Why are you treating me like this? You weren't like this before, ha." Bai Qianqian still has the nerve to talk about the past. Should we continue to protect her only to end up being tormented to death? Dad angrily said. Bai Qianqian, that's enough. You say we don't protect you. But have you even looked at the terrible things you've done? What do you expect us to do? Bai Qianqian roared. What have I done? Everything I did was right. You bunch of NPCs, my family background is so poor. Can't I think about my own future? You just don't understand me. Understand you? I think no normal person could ever understand you. Did we ever lack food or clothing for you? You're just a delusional madwoman, always thinking you're the heroine of some romance novel. I don't care. You can't treat me like this. While shouting, she also frantically smashed things around the house. Mom even slapped Bai Qianqian directly across the face. Bai Qianqian, we've already cut ties. Get out of my house. Bai Qianqian was clearly stunned by my mother's words and didn't dare to speak again, only glaring at us with a venomous, hateful look. After a moment, she let out a sharp scream. Just you wait. I'll make sure you all regret this. Bai Qianqian's belly grew bigger with each passing day. Occasionally, when I ran into her on the street, her eyes were completely hollow, just like the heroine in a tragic novel. No matter how flawed the male lead is, upon seeing the fragile and tragic side of the female lead and realizing she is about to die, he will shed tears for her and be filled with regret. From then on, the female lead lost her cheap life, while the male lead lost his most precious love. Though he later reached the pinnacle of success, he became a lonely man. Finally, he made all those who had bullied the female lead suffer the ruin of their families. As if living in hell. After all, life is precious, but love is even more valuable. The male lead has lost his beloved forever. This is truly tormenting the male lead to death. The author who writes such tragic literature is truly malicious. I stood on the street and saw Bai Qianqian in the cafe, reading a novel while tears streamed down her face. I suddenly found myself eagerly anticipating Belishan's reaction when he saw her in this state. Would he gently pull her into his embrace, or would he be horrified and tell her to get away from him? But after Bai Qianqian left my house in such a disheveled state, how could she possibly not stir up trouble now? The more I thought about it, the more it felt like the calm before the storm. When I got home, I told my parents that I was worried she might try to harm us, and we needed to be prepared. Sure enough, one night, I stayed up late. While working by the window, I saw Bai Qianqian sneaking into our residential building. I immediately went to the room to wake up my parents. Bai Qianqian was probably about to make her move. Bai Qianqian thought we were all asleep, but in reality, after seeing her pick the lock and enter our home, we took all the keys and went out, then locked the door from the outside. This time, no matter what Bai Qianqian intended to do, she was going to taste the bitterness of her own misdeeds. At 1 a.m., the same time as in her previous life. This time she chose to set a fire. Bai Qianqian lit the clothes and bed sheets at home and threw them all in front of the doors of my and my parents' rooms. As the flames grew stronger, devouring the doors and windows, we heard Bai Qianqian's maniacal laughter from outside the house. You old fools, and you little bitch, how dare you cut ties with me? Since you've ruined me, you might as well die with me. Once you're all dead, I can become an internet celebrity by leveraging your deaths to climb the social ladder and be with brother Qing Shan. I guess that's the value my family of origin created for me. Bai Qianqian slowly walked towards the door, intending to step out of the house and lock us inside, but the moment she turned the doorknob, she finally realized a problem. The door wouldn't open, and she couldn't get out. The doorknob began to twist violently, and continuous banging sounds came from inside the door. It was Bai Qianqian slamming against it. She tried every possible method to escape the house engulfed in raging flames, but the door was completely Locked from the outside, in just a few minutes, I saw thick smoke billowing from the crack under the door and heard Bai Qianqian's heart-wrenching screams, recalled the agony of being locked in the basement and tortured by Bai Qianqian in my past life. The fear made my whole body tremble uncontrollably. My parents noticed my distress and gently hugged me, comforting me. Susu, don't worry, it's all over now. In my past life, after killing us, Bai Qianqian did exactly as she said. She profited from our tragedy, becoming a minor internet celebrity and amassing a fortune. She lived in extreme luxury every day, believing our deaths were deserved and that we were the main obstacles to her becoming a wealthy lady. But in this life, she will never have that chance again. I took out my phone and dialed 119 before the firefighters arrived. We pushed aside the things blocking the door. Bai Qianqian was rescued, but she suffered extensive burns all over her body when the critical condition notice required a family member's signature. Neither my parents nor I went to sign it. In the end, the doctor signed on our behalf. However, I never expected that such a massive fire would fail to clear Bai Qianqian's mind. The moment Bai Qianqian learned of her tragic condition, she didn't burst into tears or try to assign blame. Instead, she laughed, thinking she had finally become the heroine of a tragic romance novel. After seeing the news of Belishan's wedding on the hospital TV, she ignored the doctors' and nurses' advice and, covered in bandages, made her way to Belishan's wedding venue. Because of her injuries, she became even more convinced that she was the heroine of a tragic romance, believing she must be the one. Belishan would choose between two options. As long as she appeared before Belishan, he would undoubtedly choose her without hesitation. So on the day of Belishan's wedding, what made the headlines was not the marriage alliance between the Shao and Su families, but Bai Qianqian's attempt to disrupt the ceremony. Although the marriage between the Su and Shao families was a business alliance, Su Mengting and Belishan were childhood sweethearts and had some affection for each other since they were young. Su Mengting could tolerate Belishan's minor flirtations with other women. As long as they were kept out of the public eye, she could still be the perfect Mrs. Shao. But no one expected Bai Qianqian to be so bold as to come directly to the wedding venue and cause a scene. This commotion tore off the Shao family's fig leaf. In the news video, Bai Qianqian, wrapped in white bandages, somehow managed to sneak into the banquet hall. Just as Su Mengting and Belishan were about to exchange rings, she stood there with her round, protruding belly, right in the middle of the lively, bustling banquet hall. Afraid no one would see her, she even ran to the front of the stage and snatched the host's microphone. Tears streamed down her face, her burnt hair still not fully grown back. From a distance, she looked utterly broken, like a shattered mummy. Stubbornly, she raised her head to look at Belishan, asking pitifully, "Brother Qingshan, I'll ask you one more time, do you choose me or her?" She pointed her finger at Su Mengting, her voice trembling incessantly. After these words came through the microphone, the lively hall fell silent in an instant. Even the symphony orchestra behind her stopped playing. The host, who had the microphone snatched away, stood there, somewhat at a loss, as if witnessing such a scene for the first time. Su Mengting's face darkened the moment she saw Bai Qianqian. Belishan saw his fiancée with a dark expression, as well as his parents in the audience, who also looked grim. He quickly rushed toward Bai Qianqian. Bai Qianqian thought Belishan had come to his senses and was going to elope with her, so she gave him what she thought was a sweet smile. He then looked at Su Mengting with a triumphant gleam in his eyes. "Brother Qingshan, I knew it." Belishan kicked Bai Qianqian right in the chest, causing her unhealed wound to bleed again. Looking at Bai Qianqian's large belly, a cold glint flashed in Belishan's eyes. He deliberately kicked her stomach several times with force. Everyone present was stunned, and some onlookers even immediately raised their phones to start live streaming, blinded by rage. Belishan ignored the security guard's attempts to stop him and delivered several more vicious kicks to Bai Qianqian. "I told you to get rid of the child. So why are you still keeping it? I gave you so much breakup money, and you're still not satisfied. What exactly do you want, showing up at my wedding looking like this? Are you here to mourn your own death? You despicable woman, you're already wrapped in bandages, so why aren't you dead yet? I must have had the worst luck in 8 lifetimes to be stuck with you." Belishan was so furious he felt like killing someone, his violent glare making Bai Qianqian tremble with fear. Indeed, anyone who got involved with Bai Qianqian was bound to have bad luck. Even with the tenacious vitality of a novel's female protagonist, her child ultimately died under the feet of its own biological father. The blood flowing from beneath Bai Qianqian terrified everyone present. Before the ambulance arrived, she had already miscarried due to Belashan's kicks. The grand wedding that had been widely publicized across the country thus came to a hasty and abrupt end. Belashan was handcuffed and was about to be taken to the police station for questioning. Su Mengting even announced on the spot that her engagement with Belashan was nullified. Bai Qianqian was taken to the ambulance, still gazing affectionately at Belashan. Qingshan, come with me to the hospital to see our child. As long as you come with me to the hospital, I'll pretend nothing happened today. She almost explicitly told Belashan that as long as he went to the hospital with her, she wouldn't pursue the matter of being beaten today. No choice, even if unwilling, Belashan had to go to the hospital with her. When I rushed over to see the commotion, Bai Qianqian had already completed the abortion procedure. Looking at Bai Qianqian on the hospital bed, utterly grief-stricken, I almost couldn't help but laugh, but unexpectedly, someone couldn't hold back even more than I could. I turned to look. It was Belashan. Upon hearing the doctor say that Bai Qianqian's child could only be aborted due to severe external trauma, his mouth nearly split open to the back of his head, and he might have secretly applauded himself for those kicks. Bai Qianqian was now on the brink of death, just as she had wished back then, her eyes brimming with tears as she looked at Belashan, father of the child. Belashan was so angry upon hearing this address that he almost slammed the door and ran away. What are you barking about? I haven't even acknowledged you as my child yet. Did I not give you enough money? If not, just name your price. Belashan kept asking questions, genuinely unable to understand how he had ended up capsizing in this particular gutter this time. No, brother Qingshan. Bai Qianqian looked up at the sky at a 45-degree angle, revealing her sad and melancholic profile. Brother Qingshan, I just love you too much. I'm afraid that after I die, you'll be too lonely in this world all by yourself. I don't want your money. Talking about money is too vulgar for the feelings between us. Exquisitely crafted, crystal clear tears traced down Bai Qianqian's cheeks, lending her the delicate charm of a fragile beauty. However, Belashan, who had seen countless women since childhood, was not swayed by this act. You disrupted my wedding, got me scolded by my parents, and made me the laughingstock of the entire city, and you call this true love? Stop pretending to be some chaste, saintly heroine. You know exactly how we got together. You were shaking it in the nightclub like a dog in heat. I only settled for you because I wasn't being picky. So, how much money do you really want? Hearing this, Bai Qianqian was so angry that she fainted on the spot. Seeing Bai Qianqian faint, Belashan even reached out to check her breathing, his eyes filled with anticipation, but within seconds, that anticipation in his eyes turned to disappointment. Bai Qianqian possessed the tough-as-nails trait typical of a novel's female lead. Belashan could only pound the pillow and grab his hair in the hospital room, seething with helpless rage, but in reality, if he had observed carefully, he would have noticed that Bai Qianqian's breathing had already become very faint. When the police came to visit together the next day, Bai Qianqian gazed affectionately at Belashan while telling the officers that she would not pursue any charges against him. After the police left, Belashan once again wore a cold expression and questioned Bai Qianqian. This matter is over. I hope this is the last time we see each other. Bai Qianqian, I really don't know if you love me or hate me too much. Are you sent by my father's illegitimate child specifically to mess with me? Bai Qianqian shook her head repeatedly. How could that be? I am the person who loves you the most in this world. How could I harm you, brother Qingshan? I don't blame you. I know you just don't dare to show your love for me openly because of Su Mengting. I feel like I'm about to die. After I die, please don't be too sad. I don't want to see you in pain. Belashan was both angered and amused by Bai Qianqian's words. He cursed, crazy, and slammed the door as he left. Bai Qianqian sat on the hospital bed, gazing affectionately at the back of her lover. Once he disappeared from sight, she turned her head and glared at me fiercely. Bai Susu, I didn't end up with brother Qingshan. Are you and those two old fools happy about it? She blamed all the mistakes of her separation from Belashan on me and our parents, wallowing in self-pity and complaining about her broken family. I sneered and raised an eyebrow. Of course I'm happy, but I wish you all the best. With that, I also turned and left. Within a few days, the social media platforms were flooded with news about Belashan's scandals, all of which had transformed into stories about the scheming woman Bai Qianqian, who attempted to use her pregnancy to climb the social ladder but failed, and instead resorted to slandering and spreading rumors about the Xiao family. After Bai Qianqian's child was aborted, public opinion initially sympathized with her, as she stood on the moral high ground. However, the Xiao family hired the best public relations firm, managing to whitewash even the tarnished reputation of Belashan. Additionally, the Xiao family enlisted the help of elderly women in the neighborhood, who one by one testified that Bai Qianqian was an unfilial and shameless mistress. A wave of intense anger backfired on Bai Qianqian, so Bai Qianqian's days in the hospital became difficult as well. The nurses looked at her with disdain when changing her dressings, and people often gathered in front of her ward, pointing and whispering about her. She cried and made a scene, demanding to be discharged, but after leaving the hospital, she found herself homeless. It was at this time that she encountered Belashan's mother. Because of the wedding being ruined, Zhao's mother harbored a deep hatred for Bai Qianqian. However, Mrs. Zhao pretended to be very fond of Bai Qianqian, acting as if she wanted her to be her own daughter-in-law, which moved Bai Qianqian to tears. When Zhao's mother told her she would send her for skin restoration, Bai Qianqian agreed without hesitation. She was then put on a plane to northern Myanmar and never returned. My parents and I officially started a new life, no longer having to live in fear of the trouble caused by Bai Qianqian. A year later, I received an unfamiliar call from abroad. As soon as I answered, Bai Qianqian's terrified voice came through the phone. "Sister, save me, I was harmed by Belashan's mother. I don't want to stay here anymore. I know I was wrong. Sister, please save me and bring me back, just like you did in your past life. Save me." I could tell that Bai Qianqian seemed to have been reborn as well, so I asked playfully, "Where are you now? How are you doing?" Bai Qianqian seemed to sense hope and said very urgently, "I was sold abroad by Belashan's mother. This place is simply hell. Sister, I beg you, please come and save me." I laughed heartily, and hearing about her fate, I felt nothing but immense satisfaction in my heart. Oh dear, being abroad, that's really unfortunate. Neither my parents nor I have passports, so I'm afraid you'll just have to go die. Ignoring her pleas, I hung up the phone. I suppose that must have been her last call. From now on, there will no longer be a person named Bai Qianqian in this world. However, her affairs are no longer important to me. The house that Bai Qianqian burned down was insured by my parents, and the compensation is enough for us to buy a new one, perhaps to make up for her own unease. Belashan's mother also gave us a large sum of money, which I promptly donated to a primary school in a mountainous area. My parents and I moved to a different city. This time, no one will disturb us, and we will live happily ever after. After hearing the two stories above, what are your thoughts? Feel free to share your opinions in the comments section. Looking forward to hearing from you. If you liked this story, don't forget to like it, share it, and subscribe to my channel. See you next time.